Sada Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. One is enough now for these Gita classes. Now you just say this after me. Atha prathamodhyayaha. So we are starting the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita. The word atha means now. Prathama, first, adhyaya, the chapter. So the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita begins. This word atha is a very loaded word in the Shastras. It's used very often in the Shastras and it means now. Now, after all that has happened. And what has happened here? That all the problems between Pandavas and Kauravas happened. Kauravas doing so much of injustice with the Pandavas, and Pandavas trying to settle these differences in an amicable way. But the Kauravas were too evil and they tried their level best. When things didn't work out, then the war was the final answer, because these are all Kshatriyas and they stand for dharma. They have to fight for dharma. Even Bhagwan Krishna had tried his level best in every possible way so that this war could be avoided, But unfortunately, it could not be avoided. And now the Pandavas and Kauravas are standing there in the battlefield facing each other. The Pandavas are very few, that is, they are 5 in number. They were the sons of King Pandu, and King Pandu was no more. And the Kauravas are like 100 in number, and they are the sons of Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra was the older brother of King Pandu, and King Pandu was no more. So actually he was the elder one, so he should have been the king of Hastinapur. But because he was born blind and he was not eligible to become the king, so Pandu was made the king, and this was the point of jealousy between these brothers, and this is what led to all the problems that followed. So the Prathama Adhyaya of Gita is called Arjuna Vishad Yoga. Yoga has different meanings in different contexts. And in this context, it means the subject matter of this chapter, which is Arjuna's Vishad. Vishad is grief. Now, grief in a human being can have two kinds of results. Either the person succumbs to the grief because of self-pity and because of a weak mind he has, or else the same grief makes the person think. He thinks about life itself, the problems of life, and he seeks solutions for these problems, and because of that he turns towards God, seeking the answers to these problems. And once somebody is very sincere and he turns towards God, he seeks a seeker who is sincere. God always blesses him with bhakti and then mukti. Mukti is the final yoga. And what is that yoga? Which is yojana, the meaning. As I said, different context, the word means different. So yojana, yuj, where there is a union between Jivatma and Paramatma. So that leads to the final yoga, which is God realization. So this grief itself can either be a blessing in disguise or it can be a curse for the human being, Arjuna was a very brave, courageous, righteous person, a true Kshatriya, who had never done anything wrong, and he was so brave that he had never lost any war. And this war also, he had come very enthusiastically to fight this war and settle the scores with his evil cousins. But when he actually saw his entire clan standing on the opposite side, and especially his very revered, loved grandfather, whom, who had literally brought him up, whose lap he had played in, who had told him so many stories, he'd held his finger and made him walk, that grandfather standing on the opposite side, and his own guru, Dronacharya ji, who had taught him everything he knew about warfare. So when he actually saw these people and thought that I have to kill these people, then he was so grief-stricken and his complete energy and strength got drained out. And he almost gave up on the fight, But because of this Vishada, the Vishada can be so strong that it'll incapacitate you. So Arjuna was hit by this Vishada on seeing his own people standing there on the opposite side. Now the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita and the first 10 shlokas of the second chapter, they give the context in which the teaching, Bhagavan's teaching, takes place later. So this chapter is not about Bhagavan's teaching. It gives the context for the teaching to happen. The teaching of Bhagavad Gita starts from the 11th shloka of second chapter and it ends in the 66th shloka of the 18th chapter. This is the teaching of Bhagavad Gita. Adi Shankaracharya ji's commentary on Bhagavad Gita starts from the 11th shloka of second chapter, He skips the first chapter totally because it's not the teaching. This Mahabharata war, symbolically, which is between the few Pandavas and these innumerable Kauravas, represents the divine and demoniac tendencies which are present in a human mind. They're called the Daivi and the Asuri Sampatti. There's a full chapter of Bhagavad Gita on this, So these divine tendencies of a human being are always less like the Pandavas, and the evil tendencies which a human being has, they are more like the Kauravas. So this is what it represents. And invariably, there is a Mahabharata, a fight which happens in the mind of the human beings at all the crucial moments of the life between these two tendencies. The Pandavas and the Kauravas fighting with each other in our mind. And not only are these divine tendencies few, but they are also weaker in strength. And these Kauravas, the evil tendencies, are very strong, they are powerful. They are called the Rakshashi or the Asuri Shakti a person has, Even the other religions talk about it. In Buddhism, it is called the Shakti of Mara. Christianity calls it Satan. And Islam calls it Shaitan. So every religion is talking about this evil Shakti which is there, which overpowers all the divine qualities of a human being. So our minds are like the Kurukshetra battlefield where these two kind of tendencies are at loggerheads with each other. And all the wars always begin in the mind first. So this is what the war represents symbolically. And the story of Mahabharata gives hope to the human beings because Pandavas had won the war. So it says that whenever Bhagwan is a person's, Bhagwan Krishna, Ishvara, is a person's friend, philosopher and guide, then the tendencies which are few and are weaker, they defeat the evil tendencies, Satyamev Jayate, always. So this is the hope which is given by the story. Then the blindness of Dhritarashtra, this evil king, this also symbolically represents the blindness in the perspective of the people, That is why to the wrongdoers we say, the person is so blind, he can't see what is right in life, So that is what his blindness is representing. Then his wife, Gandhari, she had functional eyes, but she voluntarily became blind. She tied a cloth on her eyes, trying to act with very pativrata, that if my husband can't see the world, I will also not see the world. So this only represents how stupid she was, because she is attached. She is blind because of the attachment, not only to her husband, even to her children she was so attached. So this blind couple represents that when a blind mind is wedded to a intellect which assumes blindness, then the end result of such a blind marriage is 100 evil children which are going to destroy their own family first, and they will destroy other people in the society. This is the end result of being blind. So his blindness and her blindness is representing this. The entire Mahabharata is a symbolic representation, and we have to understand what it actually means. Then Arjuna's Vishad, his grief on seeing his own people, is because of a basic human problem called samsara. So this is a human disease. It is a universal human disease, irrespective of nationality, race, religion, age, gender. All these are only superficial differences amongst human beings. Basically, we all have the same human problem of samsara. Thousands of years before people had this problem of samsara, they have it today, and they will continue to have it in future unless they realize their true nature and break free from the bondage, the clutches of this disease of samsara. So the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita is talking about this human disease and its symptoms, And then the entire Bhagavad Gita, the rest of it, gives the remedy or the cure for this particular disease. That is why Bhagavad Gita is called Moksha Shastra. And a disease can only be cured when it is diagnosed first, Without diagnosis, what treatments? Just like those other doctors who cannot, when they cannot diagnose a disease, they keep giving symptomatic treatment, Whoever goes gives some symptomatic, because they've not been able to catch the disease. The real diagnosis has not happened. Similarly, in this world, all the human beings are giving symptomatic treatment to this basic disease of samsara. Not feeling good? Let's go out and have fun. Go and watch movies, meet people, talk to everybody. Is talking on the phone, talk. What they are trying to do is they want to distract this mind which is the cause of all the problem, because it is in the grip of samsara, So they cannot cure. This is not a cure for the human problem, but they don't know what it is, It is only our scriptures who are actually diagnosing the problem and giving the proper treatment for it. But depends who is interested in the permanent cure. If you tell people about this, they're not interested, too busy in giving symptomatic treatment there, And also Maya's Shakti is so strong because it just pulls you for all this, This is very attractive, this world. So this problem of samsara, which is the basic human problem, the scriptures see it from different perspective in the scriptures, Just like the different systems of medicine, like allopathy, Ayurveda, homeopathy, naturopathy, they see a human problem from a different perspective. If all these symptoms are not seeing the human problem, and they cure it, but they're seeing it from a different perspective. An Ayurvedic doctor sees a human problem from the perspective of three principles: Vata, Pitta, Kapha. They see this as an imbalance of all this, and they correct that imbalance, A homeopathy doctor sees it from the point of its constitution. They ask so many questions about our nature, the dreams you see, what kind of a nature, because they are trying to get at the constitution. They are looking at this problem from that angle. And their medication is like this antigen-antibody reaction, That's how they treat the human problem. Allopathy medicine is from the point of view of modern science, how every different kind of cell functions differently. The organs have what problem in the cell functioning is there, problems in the hormones, the imbalance in the hormones, the enzymes. That's what they are treating. The same human problem they are seeing from a different perspective. And naturopathy sees it as some obstruction because of the lifestyle, food, and all that is doing. There's some obstruction in the natural health. They believe that the body has the capacity to heal itself. You remove all these obstructions and the body is going to heal itself. You go to a naturopathy hospital, first thing they'll do, stop all the medicines, and you just drink this, drink that, normal, water and all that, and they want to get the body back to normal. So all these systems of medicine are seeing the same human problem from a different perspective. Similarly, our Shastras are seeing this problem of samsara from a different perspective. And here, Vedyasa ji is revealing about this problem from Arjuna's point of view, and Arjuna stands for all the human beings. What is happening to Arjuna is what happens to all of us in all those crucial moments of life. Now, Arjuna has to kill his people. We're talking about that kind of crucial moment, when huge decisions have to be taken in life. So we are all affected by the samsara, and Vedvyasaji reveals by Arjuna's story that this problem of samsara is made up of three. It's like a syndrome made up of three problems, one problem leading to the other. And these are raga, shoka, and moha. Raga is attachment, shoka is sorrow, and moha is delusion. So this is one problem which leads to the other. Raga and shoka, they go hand in hand. They are like the two sides of the same coin. If raga is there, shoka has to come. And when raga and shoka are there, moha happens. That is, the person's thinking gets deluded, There's no clarity in thinking. And whenever a person has to take huge decisions and the mind is in the grip of raga and shoka, the decision is not going to be correct, Just like if somebody passes away, at that time, the other person, the spouse, that state of mind where there was attachment, there's sorrow, they can't take big decisions at that time, They are struck by moha. And the difference in all of us is the way we all think. That is the difference. And this body is thought driven. As the thoughts, so the mind. As the mind, so the man. So we are acting as per our thoughts. So here we have to understand that this problem which Arjuna is facing is starting from attachment to sorrow to delusion. So we have to understand these three things very clearly. The first problem of samsara is raga. Now raga, this problem, this extremely important word has to be understood very properly. It is not understood by most of the people. And the scriptures are talking about it in capitals literally, They are literally singing like the musical raga, they are talking about this raga. Yet the human beings do not understand this properly, So this must be understood, And this raga is attachment, emotional dependence, psychological addiction on somebody else, And this, most of the people here, they go around glorifying attachment. Oh, my children are very attached to me, I'm very attached to my husband, my wife, So they don't know what attachment is. Attachment is the cause of suffering and bondage in life, And because they don't know that there is a difference between two very similar emotions, which are attachment and love. These two emotions are so close, but their reasons and consequences are totally opposite. So this has to be understood, Attachment will lead to bondage and suffering. Just look at how the animals are moving around freely in this world. See how the birds are flying in this world, they have no such problems. It's only the human being who is attached to people and things for their dear life, They are inviting trouble for themselves. And Bhagavad Gita, it criticizes attachment and glorifies love. And Bhagavad Gita is the Sara of all our Vedas. So what Bhagavad Gita is saying is what our Vedas are saying, So this has to be understood, because it is going to affect me. Somewhere I am going to be affected by this if I don't understand what is happening here. So these two must be differentiated, attachment and love. Attachment is the trait of a samsari, and love is the characteristic of a liberated, saintly person. Attachment is, always self-centric. It's got the base of selfishness. The person is thinking about his own well-being in a relationship where there is attachment. Because the person's own happiness, he is empty, he doesn't have any reason in his mind, but his happiness is dependent on another person, his well-being is dependent on another person whom he is attached to, and whoever he is attached to, that person is not going to spare this person. He will not give him the space to live comfortably because he is attached to that person. Go on calling up that person, have the people around in front of you, because that person must not go away. My well-being is dependent on them. There are so many parents who say, I'm not going to send my kid far away, even if it's for the child's well-being. I can't live without my child. I can't live without that child, So they're worrying about their selves, their comfort, and compromising on the child's future, So this is the reason attachment is selfish and love is selfless. It is for the benefit of the other person. My own interest is not kept in mind. In attachment, there is taking, and in love, there is giving. So there is a difference which has to be understood. Attachment is always conditional. As long as I am getting all the benefits from this relationship, as long as I am comfortable in this relationship, the person is going to hold on to that person whom he is attached to, and the moment he sees that no benefit here and actually I'm feeling uncomfortable in this, he's going to drop that person like a hot potato. But love is unconditional. There are no conditions for love, Then attachment is out of a very empty, weak mind. The person's mind is unfulfilled, dissatisfied, unhappy with its own self, and for all the satisfaction, fulfillment, and happiness, there is some other factor which is fulfilling these requirements, But love is born out of strength and fullness. The person is already complete. Only that person can love. Oh, no weak people can love actually. All this which they are showing on top is not love. It's attachment, because their own benefit is involved in it, But for love, the person just lets the people, live their life with freedom. Then between this attachment, wherever there is attachment, it's going to bring sorrow, and such a person's mind is going to be deluded. His thinking is not going to be clear. And whenever the thinking is not clear, the person will compromise very easily on dharma. They live a life of convenience. Oh, that's okay, that's fine. Those said in books and all that, and big people talk about it. In life, we have to do all this, So they compromise on dharma. Because there is attachment, there is some own well-being involved there. My interest is involved there, But in love, the person is so strong, that his mind is sane and clear, and he'll never ever compromise on dharma. He doesn't do anything adharmic. Only a person of strength doesn't do anything adharmic, So this is the difference between attachment and love, and it's so important to understand this. Otherwise, we make mistakes in our life, And if we can recognize that there is some element of attachment, we have to change ourselves, There is bondage and suffocation in attachment, and there is freedom in love. And most of the people do not know the difference between two. Oh, my parents don't want me out of my sight because they love me so much. That is not love, that is attachment, and we'd better know that, Now, this attachment leads to the second problem of samsara, which is shoka. This is raga leading to shoka. Wherever there is raga, shoka is born out of this raga. Shoka has to be there because in attachment, the person is emotionally dependent, emotionally hooked onto some external factor here, And we can never control anything external. Other than us, we cannot control anything, Maximum we can control is our own selves. And there are so many people who can't even control their own selves. They go around behaving impulsively like animals and go and do such grave mistakes. And then later they may even sit and repent and have guilt for all their life, because they've gone into no control over this body, mind, sense complex, So how can any external factor be in our control, and then you're dependent on some external factor for your happiness? And every external factor is in the realm of time. It's ephemeral in this world, this world is changing. The object which I'm dependent on can change any time or even go away from my life, So just like how a person, he's going for a walk, either he's got crutches or he's got a walking stick on which he's leaning on, he's dependent on that walking stick. And in case the walking stick breaks, he's going to fall down and hurt himself because he is leaning on it, he's dependent on that, Then there are other people who have that baton in their hand, holding it for style or authority, And in our colony, for the stray dogs. So they are holding that stray, but they are not leaning on it, The other person is leaning on that. If you lean on that, so attachment is like that walking stick on which we are leaning. It's like a psychological crutch. When that gives way, it gives shock to that person, because gone, what I was leaning on has gone from my life, And this psychological addiction, it's not something which develops overnight, This starts off from childhood, and the upbringing has a major factor in it, How parents bring up their children is such a major factor. Here, the children don't know anything. The parents are themselves so attached. They want the children around them because they are attached to them, and they want the children to be dependent on them always. The children must keep on calling them up, taking their advice, be around, give importance to those parents. Then they feel secure and happy, So they are bringing up their children like that. They've made them psychologically dependent, And then tomorrow when those people are not there, they're not going to, they didn't eat amrit and come, they're going to die and go away. And then this child is sitting all psychologically shattered. Then you can't go and tell him, oh, don't be so attached, don't be so attached. That would be like digging a well when the house is on fire. So we take care of everything for our future, we prepare for our future. Life insurance, health insurance, make property, take care of your physical health, everything people are taking care of, preparing for future. There's one thing they don't prepare, and that is this psychological independence, This dependence must not be there for our own good. It should not be there. This preparation is not done by most of the human beings because they don't know the difference between attachment and love. So then wherever there is raga, there's going to be shoka, and wherever there is raga and shoka, the third problem comes, and that is moha. That is, the person has got no clarity of thinking. And then in all the important decisions of life he's taking, what decisions that person takes is wrong. Most of the people are taking big wrong decisions because their minds are not clear. There's no clarity of thinking, And this chain reaction of raga, shoka, moha even becomes a vicious cycle because When you think wrong, your action is wrong. Then action is wrong. The result of the action is wrong. A result of the action is wrong, then there is some more sorrow there. And then for sorrow, you need a shoulder to cry on because you're so dependent, So people don't give up dependence. They move from one object to the other for dependence, And mainly the women here, they are brought up and whatever, they are so dependent from father to husband to son. The dependence just changes. Every sentence they speak is revealing their dependence, because this has got deep roots inside. They don't know that they are so dependent, So this, this is what the first chapter of Gita is highlighting, that this is a major problem in life which people have not recognized only, and how are they going to treat it, because all the people are doing just symptomatic treatment going on here, So this is first problem which Bhagavad Gita is revealing in the first chapter, and the treatment for this is moksha. This is what, and moksha is psychological independence, We may physically need help from people to live our lives, but psychologically we must remain independent. This is what Bhagavad Gita is telling us, So this is the first thing which Gita tells us, and the second of the first chapter is telling us, and the second thing which it's highlighting is the need for a guru and shishya. All our scriptures are a dialogue between a competent, qualified, knowledgeable guru called Brahmanishta Shrotriya Guru and a qualified student who is mentally ready to grasp this knowledge. Not everybody is. They have not reached there. They haven't understood that, So only a student who has reached that level is going to even understand what Gita is saying. So this importance is because self-knowledge is not a matter of self-study. Self-study would be like taking self-medication, and self-medication is both counterproductive and even dangerous. Always doctors say don't do self-medication. Then scriptures you cannot study yourself, you need a guru. And because there is no guidance, this guidance is missing, the knowledge of the scriptures only a guru can teach, And people don't know all this. There's so much of confusion here about spirituality and religion. And when they are feeling uncomfortable, they run to places where there is a crowd. That's what they think, that there I'm going to get so many people go there, so I'm also going to get my answers there. Or they're looking at each other, what others are doing, I will also do that. Or what the parents did, Whatever from the family is carrying on, and they're blindly doing what they were doing. And these parents, they have conditioned the child's mind from childhood, and these conditionings have such deep roots. Tomorrow when the person is thinking, there seems to be a problem here, but he is not able to break free from those conditionings, very deep roots. Right from childhood, the parents have been conditioning them. What they didn't know ABCD about Vedanta. You ask them, did your parents know what is Vedanta? They don't know what is Vedanta, so how will they know what Vedanta is saying? So those illiterate parents, illiterate from the scriptural point of view, they are the ones who guide the children, and children are following what the parents want, and they remain as unhappy as the parents remain. So if we want to be permanently happy, always happy, then we have to listen to what the scriptures are saying, So these are the two important aspects of the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that this problem called samsara, which has got three problems, raga, shoka and moha, all together it's like a syndrome, samsara, And the other is the need for a guru to tell you what is right. So with this background, we are going to read the chapter. Dhritarashtra uvacha Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yuyutsavaha Mamaka Pandavaschaiva Kimakurvata Sanjaya. So now the scene in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita is that in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, these two cousins, Pandavas and Kauravas, are standing there facing each other, battle ready to fight. The army of the Kauravas seems both quantitatively and qualitatively superior to the Pandavas' army. Even Bhagwan Krishna's army was on the Kauravas' side. Bhagwan Krishna was the king of Dwarika and he had a huge army. So what had happened was, coincidentally, Duryodhana and Arjuna both reached Bhagwan Krishna at the same time asking for help for this war, And Bhagwan knew Duryodhana so evil, but yet because he came to ask for help, being so just and fair, he gave both of these people a choice. They said that one of you can take my army and I will come along with the other person, but I will not fight in the battle, but I'll just be present there and the other person can take my army. So that greedy Duryodhana pounced, on the army. Army means so many people and Bhagwan is just one. So he decided, I want the army, So the army went on his side and Bhagwan came on, and this Arjuna was so happy to have Bhagwan with him, So Bhagwan was driving Arjuna's chariot in that battlefield. He was his charioteer, driver, sitting in the chariot where the driver sits and Arjuna sitting like a VIP at the back. And they are standing in this battlefield of Kurukshetra where, the Kauravas are in front with a huge army, So this is happening in the Kurukshetra battlefield. And in Hastinapur, this blind king Dhritarashtra, who was holding on to the kingdom by adharmic ways, he was handling because they were wanting the kingdom and he's not giving it, So by adharmic ways, he was holding on to the kingdom. Actually, Yudhishthira should have been the king of Hastinapur because he was the eldest son of Pandu and Pandu was dead. So Yudhishthira should have been the king. But these people, this whole lot, Duryodhana and party and that Shakuni, his uncle in between, they were such deceitful, cunning people. They knew that the Yudhishthira was such a dharmic person that his second name was Dharmaputra. He had never done anything adharma. But he had one weak point, one weakness he had. And that he loved to play that game of dice. So that was his weakness and these people knew that this guy is fond of dice, so somehow get him to play this game and then we'll cheat and we'll somehow make him lose, So he got trapped in this game and in that game, by that addiction, I'll try again, how these games are, where things are at stake, you think next I will win, and in that he lost everything that he had. And then the punishment was that 12 years all of you go on exile and 1 year of living incognito. That they were supposed to live in disguise so that they could not be recognized in that 1 year. If the people found out who they are, then again the same punishment, again 12 years of exile and 1 year of incognito. So they went on exile for 12 years and they all disguised themselves. Somebody's Bhima, somebody's cook, and I don't know, Arjuna's teaching dance to somebody. So 1 year they lived in disguise and Duryodhana tried his best to catch them, but he could not. And then after completing this 3 years of punishment, when they came back to ask for the kingdom, they just refused. Not only the kingdom, even a little bit they said, okay, just let us settle this issue without the war. But no, they did not. So this is how this evil king, this blind king is holding on to the kingdom. And here in Hastinapur, he's sitting with his advisor Sanjaya. Sanjay was his advisor and also a Shishya of Ved Vyasaji. And Vedvyasa ji was Dirgdarshi because of his tapa shakti, Dirg darshanam is, Dirg is tele and darshanam is vision, television. So what is tele is when somebody can see something which is beyond the range of our normal sight, Today we are seeing it because of scientific advancements. We are seeing what is happening anywhere else. But those days, those people had tapa shakti. And by the power of intuition, they could see what is happening. And Vedvyasa ji was one of them who was Dirgdarshi. And he had this capacity. So he had given this capacity temporarily to Sanjaya, his disciple, who was the advisor of Dhritarashtra. So in Hastinapur, this blind king Dhritarashtra is sitting with his advisor Sanjaya, and Sanjaya can see what is happening in Kurukshetra, and he is narrating what is happening over there, So with that scene, here Bhagavad Gita starts by saying Dhritarashtra Uvacha. Dhritarashtra Uvacha means said. It says Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre. Kurukshetra, which is the land of Dharma, Samaveta, where people have gathered, Yuyutsavaha, to fight this war. Mamaka, my people, Pandavas cha eva, and the Pandavas, Kim, what? Akurvat, what are they doing? Sanjaya. He's asking Sanjaya that what are my people and Pandavas doing in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, where all these people have gathered to fight this war. Now we know that Bhagavad Gita is in the middle of Mahabharata, so there is no separate prayer shloka called Mangalacharan shloka for this scripture. Otherwise, every text of Vedanta starts with the prayer. Mangalacharan shloka is there, That is why Madhusudan Saraswati ji has written all those shlokas, dhyan shlokas, But Vedvyasa ji uses this word Dhritarashtra to start Bhagavad Gita because this is an indirect prayer. This word Dhritarashtra is made up of two words, Dhrita and Rashtra. Dhrita means the one who sustains, Rashtra is this whole universe. And the one who sustains this whole universe is God. So by taking God's name, though it is the name of that evil king, but the meaning of this name is very godly, So Vedvyasa ji takes this name to start Bhagavad Gita. He takes God's name to start Bhagavad Gita, even though there is no shloka. So here, and then he is saying, Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre. So first Bhagavad Gita starts with this word, the prayer word, and then Bhagavad Gita starts with the word Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre. Dharma is the first word of Bhagavad Gita. Because Bhagavad Gita is starting with this word Dharma, it is evident how important this word is. The whole Bhagavad Gita starts with this word Dharma. Our bodies are Dharma Kshetra. Because we have got this human body by doing a lot of dharmas. We got so much of punyas. Punyas only we get when we do dharmic acts, So because of some dharma we did, we got this body. And this body which we've got out of dharma is also meant only for doing dharma. It is a dharma kshetra. And Kurukshetra is the mind, where the evil and godly tendencies have a fight in the mind, This dharma kshetra is meant to do dharma and live dharma. We can only protect dharma. You see, dharma is nothing concrete, that we can go and protect it in any other physical way. We can protect dharma only by living dharma. Living a duty-bound, righteous life, doing our duties at home, doing our duties for the society, taking care of the 5 elements, never polluting them, taking care of animals, taking care of plants. This life has to be dharma-oriented life, It is a dharmic life. And a person who lives dharma is the one who protects dharma. And when you are living and protecting dharma, dharma in turn protects you by giving you a peaceful and happy life. Dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. When you do raksha of dharma, dharma is going to do your raksha. That is why dharma is so important, and it is the first word of our 4 purusharthas. Dharma, artha, kama and moksha. The first purushartha is dharma. Even the other religions talk about the requirement of dharma, dharmic life, but for them, dharma is the goal of life. Their religion begins and ends with dharma. Do good, be good, that's it. It's only the Vedas which are talking about moksha as the ultimate goal of life. And for us, dharma is a stepping stone. When you live a dharmic life, then only you get mentally purified to even study the scriptures. We can't purify the mind by taking a bath. We can only purify our physical body like that. Mind is purified by good karmas, So this is the reason dharma, the word dharma, it starts, Bhagavad Gita starts, Then the Bhagavad Gita ends with the word mama. The last shloka of Bhagavad Gita is Yatra Yogeshwaro Krishna Yatra Partho Dhanurdharaha Tatra Shri Vijayor Bhutihi Dhruvanitir Matir Mama. It ends with mama. So Bhagavad Gita starts with dharma and it ends with mama. So the whole context of Bhagavad Gita is my dharma. What is my dharma? I'd better know that. And I must live my life as per dharma. The other meaning of dharma is the nature of something. We say that is its dharma, that is its nature. The dharma of sun is to shine. The dharma of fire is to burn. That is its dharma. So the other thing which we need to know, and the scriptures tell us about it, is our own nature, my dharma, which I must know, So, our Vedas are divided into Ved Purva and Ved Anta, which is Vedanta, Ved Purva tells us how to live dharma, and Vedanta tells us all about my dharma, my nature, which I must find out and be true to my nature then, live my life as per my nature. And when we live the dharma, then only we can find out what is our nature. And Bhagavad Gita is such a scripture which talks about both. That is why it is the mother of all scriptures, which is talking about both the dharmas. So here in the first chapter, Dhritarashtra is asking Sanjaya that in that dharma kshetre Kurukshetre. Kurukshetra is a city in Haryana which is between Delhi and Ambala, and it was called Dharma Kshetre because one of the kings of these Kuru Vanshas, he was such a tapasvi that he had established dharma there. It was considered a holy land, because of him, that great king, In fact, in the Vedic times, our entire country, Bharat, was a dharma kshetra, Everybody lived as per the injunctions of the Veda. That is why our country was called the Golden Bird, So people were shocked to come and see how nicely people lived here, because they were following Vedas. So he's asking that in that dharma kshetra, in that holy land of Kurukshetra, where Samaveta, where all these people have gathered for Yuyutsava to fight, Mamaka, my people, and Pandavas, Kim Makurvat Sanjaya, what are they doing is what Dhritarashtra wants to know from Sanjaya. And Sanjaya can see what is happening there. So these two words, Mamaka and Pandavas, are very significant here. Now this evil king was the eldest son of the family, and the eldest son of the family is supposed to keep the kutumba together, see that the whole family is happy. That is why after the death of the father, there is a pagadi ceremony done in many traditions, that the responsibility is transferred to the eldest son of the family, he is supposed to see. Now his younger brother, who was no more, Pandavas are his children. They were actually Kauravas only. It is this guy who's made this divine, main, tu, mera, tera and all that. My children and Pandu's children, Pandavas. They were named as Pandavas, but actually they're Kauravas. And if he had any sense, he would have taken care of them like his own children. In fact, more than his own children, because their father's not there. But he had no family values, no magnanimity of keeping the kutumba, the family together and seeing that this happiness. The family is the building block of our society, When children are sound, psychologically sound children are brought up in a family, they go on to make a society, So that is why a family is so important. Mental health, happiness, it comes from the family. But this guy had no any values, and he was the one who had created this divide. And that is why the Mamaka and the Pandavas he using is revealing his character. So he tells this, and then Sanjay replies, which we will read. Sanjaya uvacha.
Sanjaya uvacha.
Drishtva tu Pandavanikam. Vyudham Duryodhanastada Acharyam Raja Vachanam Abravit. So Sanjay is telling Dhritarashtra here, Drishtva tu, having seen, Pandava Anikam. Anikam means the army of Pandavas, which is in Vyudham. The Vyudham is the arrangement of the battles. Army is the way it is arranged, that is called Vyudham. So Duryodhana tada, then Duryodhana, Acharyam Upasangamya. He goes up to his Acharya, which is Dronacharya, he goes close to him, and Raja, king, Vachana Abravi. These are the words he told them, So here, Sanjay is calling Duryodhana Raja Duryodhana, Raja Duryodhana, So he is actually the employee of the blind king. And he knows how to fan his ego and make him happy, just like all the people go around pleasing their bosses, And this king is dying to see his son as the Raja. The only thing he couldn't become the Raja, he wants to see his son as the Raja. So Sanjay using this word Raja is trying to make the Dhritarashtra very happy. And Dhritarashtra is so happy to hear Raja Duryodhana, So he says, on seeing the Pandava Anikam, on seeing the army of the Pandavas, Duryodhana goes up to his Acharya, Dronacharya ji, and he says certain words. Now, this army of the Pandavas is in Vyudham. It is in certain battle formation. Vyudham in those days were different kind of arrangements of the army and tactical positions to trap the enemy, There were Chakra Vyudham, Padma Vyudham, Garuda Vyudham, the different kind of Vyudhams were there. And this one, Abhimanyu had got trapped in Chakra Vyudham. He knew how to get in, but he didn't know how to get out. So he lost his life there, So these Vyudhams are very, very complicated. And the Pandavas' army is all in Vyudham there. This Duryodhana sees, Now, actually his own army is much more in number and had so many more warriors in it. But because this guy was evil, whenever the intentions are impure and the cause is unjust, such a person's mind is always agitated and restless, The person cannot have a very confident mind. The morale goes down, in the army, how they boost your morale. Lo, Bharat Mata ki jai. You have to go kill the people and maybe you lose your life, So on seeing this, his self-confidence gets drained out, And just like how a child runs to the parents in fright, he goes running to his Acharya, Dronacharya ji, And he tells him these words. So we will read that also. Pashyaitam Panduputranam
Pashyaitam Panduputranam
Acharya Mahatim Chamum
Acharyamahatim Chamum
Vyudham Drupada Putrena
Vyudam Drupadaputrena
Tava Shishyena Dhimata.
Tava Shishyena Dhimata.
Pashya means please see. Etam, these. Pandu Putranam, the sons of Pandu. Acharya, his guru, he's telling. Mahatim Chamum. Mahatim is the huge. Chamum is the army. Just see this huge army of Pandavas, he's saying. Vyudham Drupada Putrena, which has been arranged in the battle formations by the son of King Drupad, who was Drishtadumna, So, and Tava Shishyena, he is your Shishya, is telling him. Dhimatam. Dhimatam actually means brilliant, but in this context means cunning and clever. So here in the battle, after seeing all this, Duryodhana gets frightened, and instead of going to Bhishma Pitama, who was commander-in-chief of his own army, he goes running to Dronacharya ji, his guru, because in the battle, on the other side, so many of Dronacharya's Shishyas are standing there, So he goes to, kind of sarcastically tell him that, like, look at all your Shishyas standing on the other side, And he says that all these Pandavas and that the son of Drupad is also standing. He is the commander-in-chief of the Pandavas army, So it had so happened that King Drupad, when they were young, Drupad and Dronacharya, as young people, they were very close friends, And once impulsively, Drupad just told Dronacharya that, when I become the king, I'm going to give you half the kingdom. And those days, whatever they said, prana jai par vachan na jai, they stuck to their words, So once Dronacharya ji was having some monetary issues, so he remembered what Drupad had said, and by then Drupad was the king, So he went up to him and reminded him, but Drupad backed out. He just refused and he asked him to go. Now, Dronacharya ji was humiliated and he came back. To settle that score of humiliation, he asked Arjuna, his best student, that you go and, and defeat this person in a war and bring him to me, So Arjuna went, and he defeated Drupad in the war and he brought him to Dronacharya. And Dronacharya nicely sorted him out, took half his kingdom and he released him. Okay, go now, I will take what you had said. Now it was the turn of Drupad to be humiliated, And these people, see, this is how human nature is. This is what is being revealed here. So then Drupad wanted to settle the score with Dronacharya. So he performed a yagya to do prayers for a son. He wanted a son for that, so that son will go and kill Dronacharya, that kind of planning. A puja which is done for the destruction of others is called tamasic puja. A puja which is done with self-interest in mind is rajasic puja. And a puja which is done for the benefit of humanity is sattvic puja. There they'll pray, Loka samastaha sukhino bhavantu. May everyone be happy. Actually, in our daily prayers, we must always say a prayer like that. Sarve sukhino bhavantu. Let everybody be happy. We can't physically go and help everyone, but we can always say a prayer for everyone, So here, Drupad did a tamasic puja, but because he did a puja as per the stipulations given in the Shastras, then the result has to come. Just like Bhagwan gave Ravana the result, he had done tapas and he misused that power which Bhagwan gave him. But if a person does whatever he's supposed to do, then the result comes, So Drupad was blessed with this Drishdumna, And Drishdumna Kshatriya, and he knew how to fight very well. But then the only good teacher around was Dronacharya at that time. And Dronacharya knew why Drishdumna is born, So Drishtamna goes to Dronacharya and asks him to teach him all this warfare and archery and all that. And as per Dharma Shastra, if a qualified student comes to a teacher asking for knowledge, the teacher has to give the knowledge, you know. And Dronacharya ji gave him the knowledge. Everything he knew, he gave him, you know. Now, this guy is ready, standing on the opposite side, and his intention is to kill Dronacharya because he's born only for that reason. So, Duryodhana is sarcastically telling Dronacharya ji, Tava Shishyena, your student standing there, you know, he is the one. Just like, you know, when husband and wife fight for their children, and when the child has done something, your child has done this, they'll say, you know. And when the child has got good grades and all, my child has done this, you know. So that's how they fight, and this is how Duryodhana is telling Dronacharya, your Shishya is standing there. And all your Shishyas, Pandavas, your Shishyas, and Drishtamna, your Shishya, and he is the commander-in-chief, and you know, he's sarcastically is telling him, like revealing his stupidity, actually insulting his guru, you know, and saying that, see how stupid you are, that you've gone and taught them, all standing there and they're wanting to kill you, you know. Even here in the clinics, you know, what happens is that these junior doctors, they come and they want to learn everything under a senior doctor, and senior doctor is going to teach them everything nicely, whatever they know. They literally hold their hand at times and make them do the procedures. Then what these junior doctors do, many of them, they quit the job and they go and establish a clinic right in front of the clinic and get all the patients, you know. So this is what this person has also done, you know. So he you know, taught archery and warfare to all these people. Now those people are on the other side. So very sarcastically, being very frustrated by seeing this army, actually his own army is so huge, but he is losing self-confidence seeing, you know, the Pandavas and the army, and he's sarcastically insulting his own guru, and then he starts, you know, introducing all these people in the battlefield, both the sides, which we will see next time, you know. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om.